Good morning and welcome to the Committee on Small Business. At this time, we ask if you can please place phones on vibrate or silent mode. Thank you, Chair. We are ready to begin.
Okay, good morning. I'm Councilmember Julie Menon, Chair of the Committee on Small Business. Thank you for joining today's small business hearing to discuss 3 bills, including my bills Intro 263 and 1103, and Councilmember Narcise's bill, Intro 969. I want to first of all thank my council colleagues, representatives from the administration and public for being here, and members of the public who are going to be participating. Small businesses are a key part of what makes New York City so unique, but starting and running a small business here is quite frankly no simple feat. Most small business owners begin with a vision and then must find the resources, including capital and a workforce, to put that vision into practice. Often accessing capital to start or sustain a business can be difficult and requires assistance finding or understanding the financial support available. These small businesses and their staff contribute to the vibrancy of our city and would benefit from support to ensure that they are directed to and receiving all resources available to them. In New York City, the Department of Small Business Services exists to help entrepreneurs navigate and adhere to regulations, gain access to funding streams, and interact with commercial landlords for thriving and sustained success. The bills we're hearing today would further allow SBS to achieve their mission by supporting workforce development, equitable access to financial services, and enhanced banking assistance. In today's hearing, we will discuss Intro 263, 969, and 1103. My bill, Intro 263, would require SBS to produce an annual report on the services provided at each Workforce One center in the city, including the number of new registrants, the number of job placements, job retention statistics for registrants who obtain employment, and the number of registrants provided job training. This bill would provide transparency at Workforce One centers to ensure that we're meeting the needs of our city workers and improve these services if necessary. My second bill, Intro 1103, would require SBS to post on its website information on selecting a bank for small businesses, including information on specialized services offered by banks for small businesses, information on typical fees, interest rates, monthly charges or balance requirements, the benefits of having accounts at multiple banks, how to check the financial stability of a bank, how to research a bank's financial statements, ratings and reviews, how to understand a bank's online or mobile interface, and information about Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation or other protections provided for small business deposits. Banking is a very complex process, but it should not be an obstacle for our small business owners. This bill would ensure that SBS is enabling our New York City's small businesses to thrive despite the complexity of financial services. Intro 969 from my colleague, Councilmember Narcise, requires SBS to create a directory of local community development financial institutions, or SDFIs, and a web portal that would permit local SDFIs to publish information about the services they provide and the communities they serve. The bill also requires the department to reach out to small businesses and minority and women-owned businesses to increase awareness of the services that are being provided. This bill would similarly ensure SBS is supporting the financial growth and opportunity of our small businesses and is doing so in an equitable fashion. I'm very grateful to Councilmember Narcise for introducing this important legislation, which I fully support. I look forward to hearing testimony from the Department of Small Business Services and hearing their position on all of these bills. I similarly look forward to hearing from small businesses and advocates on today's legislation. I want to thank Nicole Kata, Rebecca Barilla from Central Staff for their work putting this hearing together, as well as my own Chief of Staff, Jonathan Schutt, Legislative Director Brandon Jordan, and Legislative Aide John Mendez for their assistance. I first of all want to recognize that we've been joined by my colleague, Councilmember Sandra Ung, and now I want to turn it over to my colleague, Councilmember Narcise, to make a statement on her bill.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair, for giving me opportunities to talk about the importance matter. Very important, as a matter of fact. We always repeat that the rhetoric the small business is a backbone of our communities, but yet we're not giving the full support. So I'm happy to be here with you. Deputy Commissioner Chan and all the members here, Department of Small Businesses, thank you for being here. As we continue to recover our economy following the COVID-19 pandemic, it is imperative that we support economic growth and provide tools and resources necessary to support small businesses. In an effort to sustain and grow our city's MWBEs, Intro 969 will require the SBS set up and host a central portal for the New York City Community Development Financial Institutions and conduct education campaigns targeted at small businesses and certifies MWBEs to show them how beneficial CDFIs can be to their growth and to sustain their business. I have been former small business owner, and any support that you can get, especially right now more than ever, it is necessary to hold our business. Like I said again, the rhetoric, small businesses are the backbone of our community. So I'm looking forward to continue to make sure that all the small businesses in our city get the support that they need in order to stay in business. We cannot afford any more of our business being closed. I heard there's an increase according to the Chambers of Commerce, but I'm still very much interested to see the population, the age group, and if they are first-time business owner, and which area that we're making progress, which one that we need to give more support in order to stay. So I'm gonna have to run, but I'm sure my colleagues are gonna do an amazing job to ask the questions, since the chair is a former business owner as well. So thank you all. God bless. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Narcisse. And now we're going to turn it over to Committee Counsel.
Thank you, Chair Menon. We will now hear testimony from the administration. We'll be hearing from Deputy Commissioner Kitty Chan, as well as Sherry Lane and Janine Jones-Seo. Before we begin, I will administer the affirmation. Panelists, please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee, and to respond honestly to council member questions? Thank you. You may begin when ready.
Good morning, Chair Menon and members of the Committee on Small Business. My name is Kitty Chan, and I am the Deputy Commissioner for Business Services at the Department of Small Business Services, SBS. I'm joined today by my colleagues, Sherry Lane, Assistant Commissioner for Capital Access and Business Programs, and Janine Jones-Seo, Assistant Commissioner for Workforce One. We are pleased to be here today to speak to this committee about Intros 263, 969, and 1103. These three bills each address SBS and the services we provide to small businesses and job seekers. SBS's mission is to unlock New York City's economic potential and create economic security for all New Yorkers by connecting them to good jobs, creating stronger businesses, and building thriving, vibrant neighborhoods. We are pleased to work with this committee and the City Council more broadly to deliver on the vision of Mayor Eric Adams' blueprint for New York City's economic recovery. Through outreach and education in your districts, support for local neighborhood institutions, and by working one-on-one with local businesses to access SBS's free resources and services, we view the legislation before us today as proof of our shared goals. Small businesses are the heart of New York City's economy. According to the New York City Economic Development Corporation, EDC, firms employing fewer than 50 workers make up about 94% of all private firms in the city. Intro 969 seeks to provide minority, immigrant, and women-owned business owners with the information they need to find and connect with capital opportunities through a network of community development financial institutions, CDFIs. While Intro 1103 seeks to complement our current information sharing practices by requiring institutional materials on banking services for small businesses be present on our website. CDFIs play a crucial role in maintaining the vibrancy of our business community because they have a mission to serve low to moderate income and minority communities that have been historically left out of traditional banking and investing options. The Division of Business Services at SBS works daily to help small businesses launch, grow, and thrive. Through SBS's Capital Access Program, we provide free one-on-one assistance to help businesses understand which financial product is best suited for their needs. If a loan is right for their business, we review and put together documents, calculate loan repayment terms, and finally connect them to multiple lenders, including banks, credit unions, nonprofit lenders, CDFIs, and the U.S. Small Business Administration, SBA. In addition to visiting one of our business solution centers for this information, we are pleased to report to the committee that SBS is currently working on a capital marketplace powered by NextStreet that features CDFI financing products, one of the many public-private initiatives announced by Vice President Kamala Harris as part of the Economic Opportunity Coalition. We are building this marketplace into the overhaul of the My City business portal to ensure that small businesses have an easy-to-use site to access both city resources and information on local financing options. The marketplace, which allows users to customize their search or ask for recommendations, will not only provide essential information about local CDFIs, but will also connect users to one-on-one assistance from SBS staff. This platform will meet the requirements of Intro 969 as it is currently written. We intend to launch in the near term, and SBS will focus our public awareness campaign on minority, immigrant, and women-owned businesses throughout the 5 boroughs. While the Division of Business Services at SBS focuses on our city's small businesses, the Workforce Development Division oversees a broad workforce development program from job connections to job training. The third bill being considered, Intro 263, would require SBS to provide annual reports to the Mayor and City Council on activities at our 18 Workforce One career centers. At SBS, we pride ourselves on offering an array of employment opportunities. More than 80,000 New Yorkers enter our Workforce One system each year. When they do, we don't just hand them a list of openings, we work intensively to prepare them for their next career move. In fiscal year 2022, we connected over 25,000 job seekers with employment, 88% of which were full-time opportunities. Each person who walks into one of our centers is supported through the entirety of their job search: cover letter assistance, resume tips, interview preparation, and more. We even help New Yorkers take the next step in their career journey through occupational training in technology, healthcare, food service, manufacturing, media and entertainment, and other industries. Roughly 6,000 New Yorkers are enrolled in training programs during a fiscal year, which not only helps to ensure our workforce matches the need of industry, but prepares New Yorkers for higher paying jobs. We also provide pathways to a variety of apprenticeships and other programs designed to bring essential workers, like foreign-born nurses, into New York City's workforce. This work is valuable, and we are always looking for new ways to improve upon how we deliver this vital service. In closing, SBS supports the intent of these bills. We look forward to working with this committee on the final product and welcome any questions you may have for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I first of all want to recognize we've been joined by our colleague, Majority Whip Sylvina Brooks Powers. And now I'm going to ask a number of questions and then invite my colleagues to ask questions as well. So first of all, thank you so much for your testimony on these 3 bills. I would like to go through each of them one by one. In terms of Intro 263, are there any obstacles to, I know you testified in support of all 3 bills, which we greatly appreciate. Are there any obstacles to implementing this bill?
Hi, good morning. How are you? So in general, we absolutely support the intention of this bill. I think the one aspect we would love to continue to work on with your office is really the retention rate. That's currently not a data point that which we capture. But I do want to share a little bit in terms of what our process does look like. So we do validate each one of the hires that comes through our center. So we've placed about 25,000 individuals per year. Each of those are validated either through the employer or through a pay stub. Upon entering into our Workforce One system, you do get access to our Intro to Services, which gives you access to understanding all the services that are available to you throughout the center, throughout your career period. With that, we do a brief triage and we do assess you to better understand the needs and the specific skill sets that we need to continue to work on with and provide additional supports to you. And again, really throughout that engagement, we're really working with you to not only work on your short-term goals, but also your long-term goals. And there is a consistent and constant re-engagement with individuals to ensure that they do get to their set destination. So even after placement, we do consistently re-encourage individuals to touch and connect base with us to ensure that we can connect them to the next step within their career.
And in terms of metrics, what are the data metrics by which SBS determines the efficacy of the Workforce One centers?
Yeah, so there's a number of metrics that we utilize on a daily basis. So we look at obviously hires and connections to job opportunities. We look at wages. We look at the number of new registrants we have within the system. We look at the number of individuals that are served and by services provided. We do look at the number of employers that we've engaged, how many job opportunities we do fill with each of those. We pay close attention to the sectors and occupations that we are connecting and placing individuals into. And we utilize a number of different metrics specific to the centers themselves in terms of referral rates, referral to hire initiatives, the overall quality of the service delivery as well.
And how many employers are the Workforce One centers working with currently?
Yeah, so we have about 768 that we've worked with at this point within this year. And again, those organizations can span all across New York City. So for example, if you were working with Target or a specific food establishment that has openings or opportunities across the system, they are counted as one, so about 768.
Is SBS working with the New York City partnership? Because I think that could be a very fruitful way to try to expand the number of employers.
Yeah, so we do work with a number of different ways and through various marketing efforts to ensure that employers do know that we are available to them. So we work with our BACs to ensure that we're engaging small businesses. We have NYC Hire, which is a direct reference to ensure that we are able to follow up and meet the needs of the hiring needs and commitments. And we do host a number of recruitment events in which we are kind of out knocking on doors, making sure that employers are aware of our services throughout the process.
Okay, and that's great. I still think the New York City partnership, though, could be very fruitful. So if you could follow up with them, I think that would be great. Because they represent all the large employers in the city, and I think it could help maybe expand the universe of employers. What languages are the services available in?
So within each of our Workforce One centers, we have a language access coordinator who is responsible for maintaining a database of all the employees that work within the Workforce One centers, as well as the languages that they speak. So at any given time, if someone were to come in, we can ensure that they have accurate services available to them. In addition to that, if someone is not available, we have access to Language Line, which is an interpretive service that we ensure that candidates can connect with as well.
Okay. According to NYC MAP's website, there are 18 Workforce One career centers across the 5 boroughs, 4 located in the Bronx, 4 in Brooklyn, 3 in Manhattan, 5 in Queens, 2 in Staten Island. Are these numbers accurate?
That's correct.
Okay. And does SBS include the locations anywhere on its own website?
We do have them on our website. In addition to that, there is an assessment that job seekers can take to better identify which services that they might need, and then we direct them to the most appropriate center to them.
Okay, and last question on the bill. Does 311 receive calls requesting help accessing a Workforce One center?
Yes.
And how many calls per year approximately are received on that?
That number I don't have available to me.
Okay, if you could just get that to the committee, that would be great. All right, I'm going to move to Intro 969. What are, obviously, again, you testified in favor of that, which we appreciate, but what are the obstacles, if any, to implementing the bill?
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you so much. And as Deputy Commissioner Chan mentioned, we're very supportive of this bill and look forward to moving forward with the initiative. In order to successfully implement the platform that we mentioned, partnership with the local CDFIs that we already work and of course, continued outreach into the community to make sure that there's awareness of the new services, which we're confident that the partnerships that we have and the outreach strategies that we have in place will help us achieve this goal.
Can you talk a little bit about the collaboration and work now that you're doing with CDFIs?
Sure, absolutely. So SBS constantly works with CDFIs in a couple of key ways. Through our business solution centers, we have individuals that provide one-on-one assistance directly to small businesses to help them connect to financing that is the most appropriate fit for their businesses. Our mission aligns directly with CDFIs in that CDFIs are targeting communities that are traditionally underserved. So oftentimes our small business solution centers will connect businesses directly with these CDFIs. In fact, the majority of the businesses that we connect throughout the year are to community development financial institutions to successfully get them capital.
Okay, and what obstacles exist regarding MWBEs and their access to CDFIs?
Sure. So as we all know, the data shows that MWBEs often have a more difficult time accessing financing, and that applies across the board. We are committed to working closely with all local lenders to increase those rates, including CDFIs. However, CDFIs have a shared mission to us in that many of them have an official target market that aligns with this gap in the marketplace. And so we are aligned in our efforts to try and decrease that gap.
Okay, great. And before I move on, I just want to say we've been joined by our colleague, Councilmember Marjorie Velasquez. So does 311 receive calls requesting help accessing CDFIs?
Thank you very much for that question. Yes, they do, but also we wanted to, I'm sure you're aware that in June of 2020, in response to the pandemic, SBS launched the Small Business Hotline. To date, we've received over 104,000 calls.
And how many are related to the CDFIs of that data?
We don't have that data, but what
Okay.
we do, the hotline connects them to our business solution centers where they can actually meet with account managers from each of our business solution centers or our industrial business service providers to get one-on-one business consultations.
And do we know, going back to 311, I know there's a hotline, but on 311, do we know how many calls to 311 are on CDFIs?
No, we don't.
Okay. Is that possible to get that data, or is that not something then that 311 is collecting?
We will find out and circle back with.
Okay, that would be great. That would be great, because again, I think sometimes for so many small businesses are not aware of this opportunity, so just want to make sure that the city is doing everything possible to make them aware. Do you have any sense, in speaking about awareness of CDFIs, of the lack of awareness? Is there any data tracking that and what we can do to then improve that?
I will say it's not a specific data point that we're tracking. However, every small business that comes into our business solution centers are provided with an assessment that essentially helps us understand, would that small business qualify for a traditional banking product, or would a CDFI be a better fit? And if the latter, we will certainly educate them on the option of a local CDFI that would help connect them with funding.
Okay, and now we're going to move to Intro 1103. Thank you again for testifying in favor of this bill. Are there any obstacles to implementing the bill?
Thank you so much for the question. As mentioned, we're certainly in support of the intent of further educating small businesses on all things financing and financial institutions. We're doing this already in a couple of key ways, and we're looking forward to making sure we can maximize those ways to continue to get information out that would be relevant as they're making these important decisions. What we want to make sure we avoid is posting any information that could become stale quickly. So making sure that we are finding channels that are dynamic in a way that can keep the information up to date for small businesses, such as our weekly webinars where we offer education to small businesses around their financing options, including some of these key points into those webinars, we think would be a great solution.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is such an important issue, and I say this as someone who used to own and operate a small business, is that some of the banking information is incredibly confusing. It's in the fine print in terms of charges that small businesses are being assessed. Certainly, we saw with some of the banking collapses around the country, many small businesses had their funds in there, and we don't want a situation where our small businesses are being hurt. So anything that SBS, and that was really the intent behind the bill, is to provide this key guidance from SBS to small businesses about banks, not saying, oh, pick this bank over that bank, but really more, these are the various services that these banks are offering. This is how to interpret what these services are, and so we can really be as supportive as possible for our small businesses.
Absolutely.
In terms of SBS offering small business owners any form of assistance or counseling regarding questions related to banking, what is the agency doing currently?
Sure, thank you so much for the question. So in addition to what I've mentioned around our Small Business Solution Centers providing that one-on-one assistance with any access to capital, whether it is through a CDFI or through a bank, and that assistance can be more than just a connection. It's help with the application process. It's navigating any online digital platforms. And in addition, when we partner with organizations like CDFIs, the staff at those mission-driven organizations also provide hand-holding around banking, around having a bank account, other key details that are necessary to run a business and be active in the capital world.
And does SBS know how many small businesses in the city are unbanked or underbanked?
So SBS and our Business Solution Center network works closely with DCWP's Office of Financial Empowerment, which also runs financial empowerment centers around the city dedicated to help businesses and consumers with these efforts. And I believe they have put out some recent studies. We can get back to you with some of the details.
Yeah, I think that would be great, and I think really the more that SBS can partner with the Office of Financial Empowerment and the various financial empowerment centers that Consumer Affairs is running, the better. When I was Consumer Affairs Commissioner, we did a lot of work around trying to help small businesses, but my concern is now with this new banking collapse that happened that is affecting some of our small businesses, what is OFE doing, and are they collaborating with SBS, and in what fashion? So I think that would be great. Last question before I turn it over to my colleagues. I'm curious about if a small business does not have a bank account, are they still eligible for financial assistance programs that SBS offers, like the Opportunity Fund?
Sure, thanks for the question. So as I mentioned, we are constantly connecting businesses to a variety of different financial institutions, including community development financial institutions, which we're partners through the Opportunity Fund, as you know. Most of those lending institutions are going to require a bank account. However, if the business does not have a business bank account, it will not, for most of them, particularly the mission-driven organizations, not be an immediate disqualifier. However, they would have staff dedicated to help a business understand how could they take that step for their business, how could it help them not only to get funds safely and securely, but also to operationalize and be organized with the financials of their business on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm now going to turn it up. No, okay, my colleague does not. Okay, so I have a couple more questions before we turn to the public. I'm curious if you're aware of what other cities are doing to help small businesses around banking, because obviously this is not a New York City specific issue that's happened recently. Are there any best practices that other cities are doing? And I know OFE in particular has done a lot of partnerships with other cities, so I'm curious if there's something that we could learn from what other cities are doing that we should perhaps adopt here in New York City.
Absolutely, thank you. And one example, in the design of the Opportunity Fund, we worked closely with 9 community development financial institutions. The 8 lenders that are lending here locally are all based in New York City. Some of them also have networks in other cities. And so through the co-design of that program, we were able to learn some best practices that were successful, particularly during the pandemic. That's just one example of how we're constantly collaborating with nationwide organizations to make sure that we're providing the best services to New York City small businesses.
Okay, wonderful. That is the end of my questions. Do we have? Okay. Okay, one last question on language access. In what languages will the planned campaign for this be available?
Of course. So our Business Solutions Center staff in person speak a variety of languages, and they will be connected directly through this platform. Languages include Spanish, French, Albanian, German, Haitian Creole, Chinese, among others. And as my colleague mentioned, they also have access to Language Line for additional interpretive services.
One last question, going back actually to all the various programs that we were speaking about, where we talked about language access, but when a small business is trying to make an appointment with SBS or with any staff member, or on the Workforce One centers, if someone needs to make an appointment, are those actual appointments available in different languages? In other words, are the language access staff available?
Yeah, so if someone were to come into a Workforce One center and needed assistance in terms of language access, we would actually work coordinating with the staff within the Workforce One centers to make sure that person's sitting directly with that individual. And again, for some reason, if there's a language that we do not speak, that's when we would make sure that we're using language access, and we would provide services directly then and there.
Okay. All right, wonderful. That is the end of my questions. So seeing no other questions, we're going to turn it over to members of the public for their comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Menon, and thank you very much for your testimony. We will now turn to public testimony. We will be limiting public testimony today to 3 minutes each. For in-person panelists, please come up to the table once your name has been called. For virtual panelists, once your name is called, a member of our staff will unmute you, and the Sergeant-at-Arms will set the timer and give you the go-ahead to begin. Please wait for the Sergeant to announce that you may begin before delivering your testimony. We will now hear from Rachel Netjes. Thank you very much, and please feel free to begin when you're ready.
Good morning. My name is Rachel Netjes, and I am the data researcher at the Center for an Urban Future, an independent research organization focused on building a stronger and more equitable New York City. I'll be testifying today on behalf of the Center's editorial and policy director, Eli DeForkin. Thank you to Chair Menon and the members of the committee for the opportunity. I'd like to begin by commending the committee for shining a light on the need for better data on the services provided by the city's Workforce One centers and to help more small businesses learn about the banking system. However, I'll be focusing on the enormous opportunity to better harness the city's CDFIs to serve significantly more entrepreneurs. Our research at the Center for an Urban Future, outlined in a recent report titled Bolstering Minority and Immigrant-Owned Businesses by Scaling Up CDFIs, reveals the enormous impact CDFIs have on supporting businesses in under-resourced communities. Marked by individualized attention and built on trusting relationships with entrepreneurs, CDFIs are uniquely positioned to connect the city's smallest, most vulnerable businesses to affordable capital and hands-on professional support. Often the only place where first-time entrepreneurs and those with limited credit histories can access financing, CDFIs have proven to be vital partners in minority small business development. This matters more than ever as New York City experiences a real entrepreneurial boom. New York City saw 168,000 new business applications in 2021 alone, a 30% increase from 2019. But without access to affordable capital and technical assistance, it's far from clear if many of them will be able to survive and grow. Despite the growing need for these services, our research has shown that CDFIs are currently meeting only a small fraction of the demand. While New York City has around 36 CDFIs that focus on small business lending, only 10 to 12 of them make at least 50 loans per year, with even the largest typically making fewer than 350 loans. For a city that's home to more than 64,000 minority-owned employer businesses and thousands more micro-entrepreneurs, this is really just a drop in the bucket. One challenge is that too few of the city's small business owners are aware of the services that CDFIs can provide. Intro 969 can help change this by creating a central portal for entrepreneurs to learn about CDFI services and launch an educational campaign to raise the visibility of these key institutions. In addition to boosting the profile of CDFIs, we encourage the City Council to help expand the operational capacity of CDFIs themselves through a citywide CDFI capacity building fund. Our research shows that the biggest challenge facing CDFIs is insufficient operating dollars for staff, technology updates, marketing, all of which would help expand their reach and impact. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today and for bringing attention to the key role of CDFIs in bolstering New York's diverse small businesses.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We have now heard from everyone who has signed up to testify. If we inadvertently missed anyone who would like to testify in person, please visit the sergeant's table and complete a witness slip now. If we inadvertently missed anyone who would like to testify virtually, please use the raise hand function in Zoom, and I will call on you in the order of hands raised. Seeing no one else, I would like to note that written testimony, which will be reviewed in full by committee staff, may be submitted to the record up to 72 hours after the close of this hearing by emailing it to testimony@council.nyc.gov. And now I'd like to turn it back over to Chair Menon.
Thank you very much. We're now going to close this hearing.